our best work was never recorded, We were performers in Liverpool, Hamburg, and around the dance halls, and what we generated was fantastic.
Welcome to Artist on Record, your ultimate intimate conversation with your favorite artist. Today we have a special guest who played in a band that became one of the biggest bands in the world. From 1960 to 1962, Pete Best was the original drummer for the Beatles. He was there from the beginning, witnessing the Beatles' journey in crafting their songwriting and musical skills. But Pete was let go from the band. As years went by, he did not speak to them. In this episode, we're going to talk to Pete when he heard about the news about John Lennon's passing. How did he feel about that? It all starts now. In the meantime, put your comments down below, subscribe, and don't touch that dial. Now welcome Pete to the show. No, I have all these notes here. I'm not even going through it. I'm just having a conversation with Pete because I can't go through the notes and be like that. I want to keep it natural and raw, and I just love the open conversation. I mean, there's so many, everybody wants to know how this one is and that one is. There's one question I got to ask you, like on John Lennon, when you heard about when his assassination happened in 1980, it's like, there's certain moments in life, like I get chills talking about it. I remember where I was, what I was doing. I was in Brooklyn, New York, and I remember I was 13 years old and it came on the news. Do you remember where you were at and what hit you in your brain? Like, how did you feel?
Yeah, I was getting ready for work because of the time difference. And I never heard it on the news. I was getting ready for work, so it'd be about 7 in the morning, something like that. And my wife, Kathy, shouts it up. She said, and I said, Pete, just heard something on the news. John's been shot. Now, at that time, the last thing on my mind that it was John Lennon, right? And I shouted down, I turned down and said, John who? John the next door neighbor, John I'm in work with, And she turned down and said, no, it's John who you used to play with, John Lennon.
Lennon was shot and killed at about 11 o'clock last night outside his apartment building. News of the Lennon shooting, of course, spread quickly around the world.
And I went, what? And I came downstairs and I listened to the radio. And by the radio, and then it was on the television and everything, but I was listening more predominantly to the radio. And, I suddenly realized this idiot Chapman had, murdered John. And I couldn't believe it. It was a little bit like, and I think for a while I didn't believe it. It was like, hang on, this is, it's a publicity stunt. It's a bad stunt. This, I don't like it. Whoever's doing it, practical joke. No. But then the reality of the situation hit me. It was like, no, Christ almighty, he has been murdered. And it did upset me. And a lot of people have turned around and said, why would it upset you? A person who's been killed, when they were part of the band which basically ousted you. And I said, that's got nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it, what happened to me. I said, it's what happened to him. I said, I've known those guys for 3 years. I played with them for 2. We had slept, drank together. We laughed and joked together. We had fun together. I've got great memories of him. He was a great comrade. I said, that, the fact that I haven't seen him for many years, I've still got great memories of him. And I just can't believe that he's been absolutely wasted by an idiot, in the prime of his life. Because the other thing I'd been watching carefully, it was like John was on the comeback trail again. His music, he'd come out on another dimension of music. And it was just like, wow. McCartney's out there, he's been doing his own thing. Now John has decided to get the bit between his teeth again. It's going to be interesting to see, how this one wages out in solo careers. And then it never came to materialization because of that bloody idiot. But yeah, like the rest of the world, I was physically upset.
Yeah.
And the only way, Stefan, I could pay any respect to the guy, because like everything else, the media wanted to jump all over it, so my phone never stopped ringing, people, the press, we want to do this interview, can you do that? And I just refused. I turned around and said, I don't want to do any interviews. I said, I just want to be left totally alone. And I said, I want to pay my respects to a great friend who I've just lost. And that was it. And I went into work. I was very forlorn. But thankfully, you know, a lot of other people in work had realised what had happened as well, you know, so they felt the same. And, you know, when I got back home again, you know, in the comforts of my own house and the, you know, the silence, I sat and thought, you know, and thought about the old days, you know, good memories came flooding back again. You know, so that was my way of paying my respects to John, yeah.
No closure, because you think, you know, okay, so the falling out, which everybody knows the story with the Beatles and you and how, you know, you were let go. And the story is that supposedly you haven't spoken to them, but you would think in the back of your mind, and I'm sure you did, I can't speak for you, I'm just assuming that, well, maybe one day John and I are, one day we'll talk about yesterday, and we'll come to Jesus moment, and hey, you know, this is what happened, this is why, I'm sorry, whatever, a brotherly hug. But you never had that chance with him.
Yeah, I think it's like everything else, regardless of what happened. I suppose the way I look at it, and people have turned around and said, you know, will it ever happen with Ringo and Paul? I said, I don't know. You know, if my karma turns around and said that I'm going to meet them, I'll meet them. You know, if I'm going to meet up again. Because I'm a strong believer in karma. Okay. You know, your path's already destined. You know, you just run down it and, you know, follow what's going on. Makes you sit up and look a little times, you know, and wonder what, you know, why it happened to you. But, you know, when the story unfolds, you realize, you know, so sounds very philosophical, that doesn't it?
No, it sounds real. It sounds real, you
And
know.
it's like everything else, as you mentioned, you know, there's always a probability that they may have happened, you know. But as you so rightly said, you know, whatever the probability was, it was never going to materialize, you know, because of that idiot.
Yeah, that's a very, very unfortunate. And the fans, especially the Beatle fans, I mean, people want to reinvent the story or picture a story, or, you know, there's all different stories. So you and the former your former bandmates never crossed paths since your departure. No conversations, nothing, or have you?
No, that's the funny thing. I mean, regardless of what happened, how you know, whatever bad taste they left in my mouth, you know, whether it was handled badly, there was no forewarning, whatever the cases might be, it's all water under the bridge as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned now. But I think it meant that because of that situation, it made it more difficult, even though I tried to speak to the guys, okay, to find out from them, you know, why they had kicked me out, you know, because Brian had so rightly turned around and said, he said, it's the other guys, they want you out the band. I'm the manager, they left it up to me, which I appreciate, okay. But it would have been nice to actually, you know, when I tried to phone them, if they'd come to the phone and turn around and said, yeah, this happened, you know, all the reasons for it. It never happened. I never got the opportunity to. And then, of course, you know, life goes on, you drift further and further apart, and the logic and the sense disappears behind it, the heartbreak disappears, and it's, well, okay, let's just get on with life.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose there comes a time, and that's what I realized, there comes a time when it's pointless looking back and reflecting over what's happened and dwelling on it, you know, and sort of turning around and saying, oh my God, if it hadn't have been for that, I'd have been this. If it hadn't been for that, I'd have been this. You got to let go. And I think when you realize that, it's not so much about what happened yesterday. It's very much about today and tomorrow. And I think when I came to realize that it's like, it's not history. It's not yesterday. Your future is today and tomorrow. And once I came to grips with that situation, life took on a different slant completely.
But you got to walk through the fires and the pain and the hurt to realize that. In you know what I mean? You have to go through the motions to realize this is
Yeah,
it.
you do. And there's people out there who've most probably gone through the same emotions, only for different
Yeah.
circumstances. Just happened to be my lot in life that I was part of a, you know, band that went on to conquer the world, you know. If it'd been a band which didn't achieve anything, then what difference would it have made? But that was the difference. And as you so rightly turned around and said, and what I, you know, pointed out, you know, you realize things. If you can realize it, and overcome the pain and put the pain and everything behind it, then you've achieved something. Okay, it's like fine. It's an episode in the past. It's in the past. Okay, my life now is about today and tomorrow.
Today and
It's
tomorrow.
about what tomorrow brings. And I think once you get into that concept of the mind, life opens up, you know, and you get a different way of thinking. You're not thinking about what should have been, which can make you very bitter and twisted if you keep reflecting back all the time. You're looking at life with a, you know, new eyes, new ears. You're hearing different things. The challenges out there. Go out and grasp it. Prove yourself. You know.
Dr. Best, you have just helped me. I'm telling you, you just helped me. I'm listening to your story, even though it's part of rock and roll history. Everybody goes through something that you went through. Maybe not on the big scale of a band like that, but just in life, a job, a relationship. So I hope this conversation helps somebody out there, because you wrote a book. You wrote a book, I remember, right? The Pete Best, you wrote an autobiography, didn't you? Write a book about your life back in the day?
Yeah, there's three of them. There was Beatle, there was Pete Best story, and the last
Pete
one we
Best
did,
story,
which
yeah.
was a collaboration with Rogue, was Beatles: The True Beginnings, you know.
Yeah. So
where we
writing those books helps you out too. It's almost like your therapy to write it down and to feel it again when you're doing those books, huh?
Yeah, I mean, the books came about, the initial book came about because for many, many years, people wanted me to go back into show business. Because when I quit show business in '68, I was married, and I basically turned around and said, no, got to think about bringing my family up. Okay. And I'm married to a beautiful Liverpool girl. Been married to her for 61 years, got two beautiful
Wow.
daughters, 4 wonderful grandchildren, which I'm at the age now where I've looked after them when they were small. Okay. Now they're at the age where they can look after Pop, as they call me. Okay. So, it's a role reversal, but very proud of them. But it's like everything else. Because of that, and because of the points I was making, because people wanted me to do something, right? And I didn't want to go back. It was like, no, when I quit showbiz, and it was got to bring my family up, I didn't want to play in a pub band. I didn't want to go play drums on a Saturday night. It was like, no, it's part of history and it's gone. And that happened for 20 odd years, right? And it was like, people were after me to do this and do that and do the other. And it was like, no, don't need it. I'm living a new life. I'm bringing my family up. I'm enjoying it. And then it reached a situation. I did a one-off concert, Stefan, which I thought was going to be a one-off concert. And that was in 1988, and my mother was still alive then. And I got persuaded after many years of pressure to put the arm up my back. And I said, okay, guys, I'll do it. And agreed to do a one-off concert. And I got my younger brother, Rogue, you were talking to before, who plays drums in the band with me even today. And I turned around and said, because he had his own band then back then, I said, throw your drum kit on stage with me. Mum was still alive. Turned around and said, let us see, for the one occasion, 2 brothers playing drums side by side, And I got some mates, Billy Kinsey from the Mersey Beats, Kenny Parry, Dave Goldie, good, great musicians, rock and rollers from way back. And we just basically played some great rock and roll, right? And I came off stage, the audience were really appreciative. And Mona came up to me, my mother, and she went, love the show, Pete, She said, but you don't know it. She said, you're going back into show business, right? And I said, not a chance, not a chance. My God, how true she was, From that performance, everything else has emanated. I've been back in show business since '88 with the band, and all these wonderful projects have transpired since then.
Pete, Mona is right. And you know what? You can't walk away. It's who you are. It's like you were hidden for a while, but yeah, it's who you are. And I'm really happy that you're going to be out there playing, and everybody watching. I'm going to put the links here and above here. Follow him and check him out. Before we go, give me the list, what everybody needs to check out if they go to Liverpool, first of all.
Liverpool Beatles Museum, Casbah Coffee Club, Casbah Coffee Club Suites, Hayman's Green, okay? If you get into Matthew Street and you may perchance go to the Cavern, fine, okay? Get them on your hit list. But come to the authentic places first where it all started. Castle Liverpool Beatles Museum, Castle Coffee Club Suites. Okay, Steph.
I'm going to do that. Perfect. I'm so glad you were able to say it because I can't read all these notes and you helped me out. You're the perfect co-host for me. And we're even matching today. And we didn't plan this. I think maybe we have something good going on together. There's chemistry. There's chemistry here. Shh, don't tell nobody. You can check out this episode unedited right here on YouTube at our members only club. But in the meantime, make sure if you go to Liverpool, check out the Casbah Coffee Club Suites. Links will be down below where it all began, Beatle history. And catch Pete Best and his band. They're coming to the USA. Until then, we'll catch you all later. Who loves you, baby? We do. Thanks for watching. And let's give a big shout out to Cindy Chase, our club member right here. Thank you, Cindy, for your question.